Greetings, mighty companions. Anna Kujawa here, and I am teaching A Course in Miracles today. And I am teaching from A Course in Miracles, the Complete and Annotated Edition, which is the latest edition of A Course in Miracles. This edition came out a couple of years ago, and what is new and different about this edition is this edition contains 45,000 words that were left out of the first two editions of A Course in Miracles. And so all of that material that was left out is in this edition. And there's so much original / new material in this edition that I really wanted to teach it so that I could learn it. So we are in chapter 3. We are in chapter 3, section 9 in the Complete and Annotated Edition of Course in Miracles. And the name of this section is called The Fear of Teaching. And it is section 9 of chapter 3. And we're going to be starting at paragraph 5 in this section. So this is a very interesting section. The entire section, almost in its entirety, is not in the first two editions. So it's a lot of original / new material. And it has a lot to say about teaching and learning. And the first thing that I want to talk about before we start at paragraph 5 is that this whole thing about teaching and learning. And the Course in Miracles says that teaching is learning. And so if you want to learn anything, Course in Miracles says, if you say you want to learn how to be happier, if you say you want to learn how to evolve and grow and heal, if you're saying that you want to learn anything, like how to be happy, the Course in Miracles says that learning comes from teaching. It may seem like it is the opposite way. Well, everything here on earth seems to be the opposite. So in other words, here in Earth School, whatever it is that you want to learn, then that is what you must teach. And that teaching is how that you learn whatever it is that you want to learn. And so to say that you are a learner, to say that you are here to learn, is also the same as to say that you are here to be a teacher and that your function here is teaching. So it says that the Course emphasizes that to teach is to learn. And so that teacher and learner are in the same order. Teacher and learner are the same. So, and then the Course in Miracles also emphasizes that teaching is constant, which means teaching goes on every day and continues on into sleeping. And the Course also says that it says something very interesting about the Course in Miracles. It says the purpose of the Course, the purpose of A Course in Miracles is, or can be said, to provide you with a means of choosing what you want to teach. So A Course in Miracles is a curriculum whose purpose is to teach you, is to provide you with a means of choosing what you want to teach. It says that is what A Course in Miracles is. It is a curriculum whose purpose could be said to help you to decide what you want to teach on the basis of what you want to learn. And it says that you are going to teach because teaching is inevitable. There is no escape from it. So the only way through Earth School, the only way to learn what you're here to learn is to teach what you want to learn. Now, A Course in Miracles defines teaching as demonstrating. So you are going to teach. It's just a matter of what you want to teach. And A Course in Miracles is just a curriculum whose purpose is to help you to decide what it is that you want to teach here. So, and it says that, it says to teach is to demonstrate. There are only two thought systems, and you demonstrate that you believe one thought system or the other is true all the time. From your teaching, from your demonstration, others learn, and so do you. And the question is not whether you will teach. That is not the question. Should I be a teacher? Am I a teacher? It's not a question of whether you are going to teach. That's what you got to do. That's what you're gonna do here if you want to learn. And so the question is not whether you teach, because in that there's no choice. The purpose of the course might be said to provide you with a means of choosing what you want to teach on the basis of what you want to learn. Why? Because the truth is that you can only give to yourself. You can only teach yourself, not to someone else. Okay? So how is it that you learn? You teach. So now we're going to talk about ourselves as teaching, our roles as teachers. Okay, so what are we going to be doing here if we want to be learning? We're going to be teaching, because that's how you learn. Don't forget that. Teaching is learning. So I just did a little bit of background there from the teacher's manual. Now we're going to go to the section in the Complete and Annotated Edition, and we are in Chapter 3, Section 9, Paragraph 5, the fear of teaching. So now it's going to talk about our fear of teaching, which is the same as saying our fear of learning, the defenses that we come up with around teaching, all the excuses we come up with, and the defenses. Well, I'm not a teacher. I don't want to teach. I don't want to do that. All the defenses we come up with around demonstrating, around teaching. All the defenses we have around demonstrating, around teaching these ideas, around extending the ideas that we want to learn, all those defenses, that is just our fear of learning. That's our fear of growing. That's our fear of evolving. And so we're going to hear about that, so that we can undo our fear of demonstrating, so that we can remove our fear of learning, so that our learning can occur so much faster and smoother. And that's the goal here. We want to be happy learners. We want to be good learners so that we can be fast learners. We want to speed up our learning. We want to speed up our learning. We don't want our lessons to take months or years or lifetimes anymore. We want our lessons to happen fast. We want to be efficient learners. What's my lesson? Well, I need to learn how to forgive. I want to learn how to forgive. I want to learn how to love myself. I want to learn how to stop judging myself. I want to learn to stop judging at all. Okay? Well, how would you like to speed up your learning of that and cut your learning time in fractions? So this section talks about how to do that. I am so happy that you guys are joining us in this healing circle. I'm so happy to see you, so happy to feel you. Thank you for joining this healing circle here on Facebook and also on YouTube as well. And if you have any questions, then write them or type them in all caps. It catches my eye. And I love your feedback. Your feedback is very helpful. It helps us to all apply these ideas to ourselves. So thank you for your feedback. Feel free to share your questions, your comments, your feedback, all that good stuff. It makes our healing circle more robust. So, here we go. So we are paragraph 5. A teacher with an authority problem is merely a pupil who refuses to teach others. Aha. That's what so it's talking about a teacher with an authority problem. So a teacher with an authority problem is someone who is what? Is really a student who needs to learn, who is resisting teaching. In other words, they are refusing to teach others. So someone like we are who is needing to learn, but they are refusing to teach others. I want to learn how to love, but I am refusing to demonstrate love to others. That is what a teacher with an authority problem is. Now, it's going to go on to describe the teacher with an authority problem. See if you recognize yourself or anybody else. A teacher with an authority problem is someone who is a teacher who wants to maintain themselves in a position where they can be misused and misperceived. Okay? So what does that mean? That means a teacher maintaining themselves in a position psychologically where they are affected by the misperceptions of those they are teaching. This is a teacher with an authority problem. Teacher with an authority problem is a learner who is making themselves concerned about the effect of their teaching on other people. And a teacher with an authority problem is someone who is refusing to teach others or to demonstrate what they want to learn because they are concerned about the effect. They are letting the misperceptions or the projections of the people they're sharing with affect them to the point where they don't want to teach at all. So for instance, I as a teacher, when I become concerned about how other people are misperceiving me or judging me or rejecting me or not coming to my classes or misinterpreting me or projecting on me, and then I am using that, I am letting that affect me, and I'm using that to say, well, I'm not even going to teach. I'm not going to put myself in that position anymore. I'm not going to put myself in the position of being the teacher in the presence of these students who are going to misperceive me or reject me or misinterpret or project on me. Can you relate to that? That is a teacher with an authority problem. And that is someone who is just simply refusing to teach, refusing to demonstrate. Very interesting. That's a teacher who has put themselves in a psychological position to be misused or misperceived by the people they are demonstrating to. Very interesting. Now, when you are a teacher / demonstrator, you're here to teach. You got to teach if you want to learn, but you're refusing to teach because you are concerned with the projections and the misperceptions of the people that you're going to share, that you're going to teach or demonstrate to. This makes you resentful of teaching. Wow. Makes you I resent teaching. I don't like putting myself in the position where I am going to be projected on, misperceived, rejected, misinterpreted. I don't want to put myself in that position. It says that you have this attitude because this is you resenting teaching and being a teacher. Wow. And you are resenting teaching because of what you insist teaching has done to you. Wow. Yeah, I resent teaching. I don't want to be a teacher. I don't want to teach this because of what teaching has done to me. And what it has done to me has made me very insecure. It has made me feel insecure. Nobody showed up to class, nobody tuned in, people didn't hear me, they fell asleep, they misperceived what I was saying, they obviously didn't see the value of it. And so it says that this is me resenting teaching because of what I perceive teaching has done to me. That's because I put myself in a position psychologically to be affected by the misperceptions or the errors of those I'm sharing these ideas with. And really, this is me, a teacher with an authority problem, and all it really comes down to is I am refusing to learn. I'm afraid of teaching because I'm afraid of learning. Now, can anybody relate to that? Wow. For instance, let's say that there is something that is very important to you, that you know that you want to learn, that you know you want to master this lifetime. Whether it's accepting the truth for yourself, or forgiveness, or a love, or whatever it is, or your art, your gifts to the world. You're full up of gifts to give, things to teach, because they are things you want to learn. But you are afraid to share them. You are afraid to demonstrate them. You are afraid to extend them. You are afraid to teach them. Can anybody relate to that? It's telling us why and how it is that we've made ourselves afraid to teach our gifts, to demonstrate our gifts, which is the things that we want to learn. Now, and it's also reminding us that if you say you want to learn what you're here to learn, the only way to learn it is to teach it. And so that's why it's got a whole section with the title, The Fear of Teaching. Because if we don't move through our fear of teaching, if we don't let our excuses around extending and demonstrating the ideas that we want to learn to students, to people, if we don't move through those defenses, then we're not going to really be able to learn it to the extent that we want to, that we are here to. So we've got to look at and move through our fear of teaching, our fear of demonstrating. So let me just ask you this. Yes, Tricia, I so needed to hear this. Beautiful. Me too. Me too. I've got so many defenses against teaching, let me tell you. The Course talks a lot about the unhealed healer, which is the teacher who's afraid to teach, okay? The teacher who's afraid to teach is the same thing as the healer who's afraid to heal, the unhealed healer. And it says that the unhealed healer and the teacher who's afraid to teach is someone who is concerned about the effect of their teaching on other people. So my main defense against teaching and learning is that I am concerned about other people's errors and other people's misperceptions of me. This is what the last week's session was about. It was about your duty as a teacher. Your duty is to demonstrate. Your duty is to demonstrate that you are unwilling to side with the misperceptions of others and yourself. Now, what that translates into is that your function as a teacher is to demonstrate or to not side with the misperceptions of others, not be concerned about other people's misperceptions of you. And who are other people? Other people are the ones that the universe picked for you to teach for you to demonstrate the ideas that you want to learn. That's who other people are. And if you are being concerned about their misperceptions, if you are giving their misperceptions of you, of your gifts, of your teachings, of your demonstrations, if you're giving your fear, if you're giving their misperceptions of your gifts power over you sharing them, then you are being afraid to fulfill your function. You are defending against your function here, which is learning, which is growth, which is evolution. So the whole goal here is that our whole duty is to stop siding with their misperceptions of us and giving their misperceptions of us power over us, making us too afraid to share, too afraid to extend our gifts, which is the things that we want to learn, are the things that we are gifted with. Beautiful. Wonderful. Okay. So did you hear what a teacher with an authority problem is? The teacher with an authority problem is someone who's like, well, I am not going to share this because it is too risky. It's too risky because some people fall asleep, some people reject it, some people project on me. So I'm afraid to teach and nobody will come to my class. That is a teacher with an authority problem. That's the teacher who has forgotten who is the teacher, and that is the teacher who has forgotten who is God and who is the learner. The teacher who is afraid to teach because they are afraid of other people's misperceptions of their teaching, that is a teacher who is confusing themselves with God. That's me. You know, I'm still afraid of teaching. I'm still afraid of the misperceptions or the rejection of my students. I'm still afraid of that, and I do see how in my own teaching career that I sabotage myself as a demonstrator, as a teacher, because I am a teacher with an authority problem. I am still giving power to the misperceptions of those who are, who I'm supposed to give these ideas to. And I would like to correct that. Irene says, others are those we are to teach, to demonstrate. Yes. And Mohammed says, good morning from Malaysia. Oh, thank you, Mohammed. Greetings to you this fine morning in Malaysia. Thank you for joining our healing circle, Mohammed. All right. So what it was saying was all that we've been talking about being the teacher with an authority problem, that makes us resentful of teaching. And it makes us resentful of our students, other people. It says, so the only way out of this particular aspect of the desert is still to leave. Okay, so what's the goal here is to drop that misperception. What misperception? The misperception that I need to be concerned or be afraid of other people's misperceptions of whatever it is I'm extending, whatever it is that I'm teaching. I need that perception to be corrected. That misperception, that way that I sabotage my extension of my gifts, that is an aspect of the desert. That is something that makes our life feel like a desert instead of a garden. If you are not extending your gifts, if you are not extending what is important to you, if you are not sharing what is important to you, if you're not teaching the ideas that you want to learn, then your life is going to feel like a desert. and life on a desert feels like this. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what my purpose is. I don't have a sense of my own value. I don't feel like I belong. That's a characteristic of being on a desert. Okay, so this is very important for having a life that feels like a luscious, green, abundant, safe, amazing garden. That's the way I want my life to feel. And this is telling us how to get back to the garden. Beautiful. And Irene says, extend what is important to you. Exactly. And Irene says, go, leave the desert. Stop being afraid of other people's misperceptions. Exactly. Wow. How beautiful. This is about how to let that fear of other people's misperceptions of your gifts, of your teachings, of your demonstrations be corrected, so that you can extend your gifts, so that you can teach what you want to learn free of fear. In other words, this is a way to stop giving power to other people's misperceptions over you doing what you came here to do, being what you are. You are a teacher. You are a demonstrator. That is what you are. That's what you are here to do. It's just a question of what you're teaching. It's not a question of whether you are going to teach. Because to teach means to demonstrate, and to teach is to learn. And because teaching is learning, that's why the teacher and the student are the same. They are equal. They are equal. There is no real difference besides the teacher and the student, except maybe in terms of different experience and ability. But that's it. Why? Because the teacher's got to teach in order to learn. And the student has got to learn in order to teach, and to teach in order to learn too. So don't be fooled by those differences. And don't be afraid of other people's misperceptions. Don't be afraid that when you teach what you're here to teach, which is that which is important to you, that which you want to learn, that which you want to be, that which you want to experience, don't be afraid to extend it out there. Don't be afraid of other people's misperceptions of your gifts. Don't be afraid of them. Okay? Beautiful. Why? Because they don't matter. Other people's misperceptions of you don't matter. And you're here to demonstrate that they have no power over you, that other people's misperceptions have no power over you. That's one of the main things that you're here to demonstrate. That's one of the main things you're here to teach, is that you remain exactly as God created you. You're here to demonstrate, which means to teach, that you're as God created you, not as you created you, and certainly not as they created you. That's what we're here to teach. And you can't do that while you're afraid to teach, while you're afraid to share and to demonstrate what you want to learn, the gifts you have inside of you. Okay? As long as you're holding those gifts in and you're holding your own teaching in out of fear of what other people may misperceive, then you are not fulfilling your function. You're not giving your gifts, and your life will feel like a desert sometimes. So, now, then it says this. Here's how you leave the desert. Okay, we talked about the desert and what makes life feel like a desert. The way to leave the desert of the purposelessness of not fulfilling your function of teaching is to release everyone involved in your teaching, demonstrating experience. How? By absolutely refusing to engage in any form of honoring error. Wow. So how do you leave the desert? What desert? The desert. I'm so concerned about how other people might misperceive or reject my teaching that I'm just not going to teach. I resent teaching. I resent my pupils, and I resent teaching. How do you leave that desert? You become absolutely what? Absolutely refusing to engage in honoring their misperceptions, honoring their errors. Absolutely refuse to honor other people's errors, other people's misperceptions of your gifts, your teaching, your work. That's how you leave the desert, by absolutely refusing to honor their misperceptions. Stop absolutely refusing to give their misperceptions of your teaching. Absolutely refusing to give them power over you extending your teaching and your gifts to the world. Wow. And then it says this. It says, neither teacher nor pupil is imprisoned by learning unless they use the teaching as an attack. If you use the teaching or the learning as an attack, then you will be imprisoned, whether you actually teach or learn or refuses to engage in the process at all. Wow. So whether you are teaching or learning, or whether you're like, I'm not going to teach because I resent teaching. I don't like its effect on me. Regardless of what you're doing, if you're using teaching for an attack, then you're going to be imprisoned by your teaching. Yes, I can relate. I can totally understand that. When I have been using my teaching as an attack, meaning being concerned about other people's misperceptions of my classes or my gifts, then yes, my teaching has imprisoned me. I used it as an attack, and then all of a sudden I'm resenting teaching. That's using teaching as an attack. It's also using learning as an attack. Wow, I can totally relate to that. Absolutely. And I've been learning this lesson as long as I have been teaching. So I am still learning how to be I'm still learning how to be a fearless teacher. I'm still learning how to be a fearless extender of my gifts. I'm still learning how to be a fearless demonstrator of the ideas that I most want to learn. And how do I know I'm still learning? Because I'm still concerned about the effect of my teaching on other people. I'm still worried about other people's misperceptions of my teaching. I'm still worried that they're going to judge me, they're going to reject me, they're going to fall asleep in my class, they won't come to my class. I'm still worried that it's going to be revealed eventually that I'm not a good teacher, and all that, but that is me using my teaching, that's me using teaching and learning as an attack. Which is just me saying, I would like to slow down my learning. I would like to slow down my evolving. And then when I hear it like that, I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to slow down my evolution. But that's all it's saying. And Stephen says, my attack, teaching, learning are attacking my vulnerability. Exactly. And Irene says, you're an extraordinary, fearless teacher, Anna. Thank you, Irene. And so are you, Irene. I know you, and I know that's true about you too. So, now, it's going to tell you what your role is as a teacher, which is your role as a helper and your role as a healer. Whether your role as a helper, teacher, healer is maybe you're a parent, maybe you are a teacher of something, So here's your role as a teacher. Your role as a teacher or healer or helper is this. When you see it correctly, your role as a teacher is one of leading yourself and others out of the desert. That's it. That's your teaching role. To lead yourself and others out of the desert. Wow, not bad. And the value of your role of leading yourself and others out of the desert can hardly be underestimated. I mean, what role could be more important than that? You know, you live on a desert, people are suffering, starving, dying of thirst on a desert. What could be more important than having the role, the job, the function of leading yourself and others out of the desert? Your role, the value of that cannot be underestimated. Wow. And it says this, and then our teacher says, the value of your role of leading people out of the desert can hardly be underestimated, if only because this role of leading others out of the desert was a role to which I, our teacher, very gladly dedicated my own life. That is the role that our own teacher and the voice of the course dedicated his very own life to leading himself and others out of the desert. That is your role as a teacher, as a healer, as a helper. Wow. And there's no more important role than that, no more valuable role than that. So just in case you were questioning your value or your worth, just in case you were wondering, what is my purpose here? Just in case your life was feeling like a desert of purposelessness, here is the thing that enables you. This is your reminder of your purpose, your real function, that will change your life from feeling like a desert of purposelessness into a garden of purpose. So then it says this, and so our teacher in the voice of the course says, I myself dedicated my entire life to the role of leading people out of the desert. And then our teacher says, and I've repeatedly asked my pupils to follow me. This is my role, this is my function, and I've asked you repeatedly. I've asked my pupils, says our teacher, to follow me. In other words, let my role be your role, says our teacher. And this means that to be effective teachers, you, my pupils, says our teacher, must interpret teaching as I do. Oh, okay. So for us to follow our teacher, who says he's dedicated his life to the role of leading people off the desert, for us to follow our teacher and follow his example, that means that we've got to interpret teaching like our teacher does. Okay, I've been interpreting teaching as an attack, right? I have been fearing teaching because I'm afraid of other people's misperceptions of what I teach and what I give. I've been using teaching as an attack, okay? And our teacher's like, look, you got to interpret teaching like I do. Okay, great. Now, teacher, how do you interpret teaching? How do you interpret teaching, teacher? Well, here's our teacher speaking. I have made every effort to teach you entirely without fear. Okay? Now, still, this is our teacher speaking. It says, if you do not listen, that's a big funny if you do not listen, says our teacher, then you will be unable to avoid the very obvious error of perceiving teaching as a threat. Right, gotcha, teacher. So our teacher here, the voice of the course, is saying here that if you don't listen to our teacher, the voice of the course, in how our teacher interprets teaching, then you're going to misinterpret teaching, and you're going to see teaching as a threat, and you're going to be afraid of teaching, and you're going to interpret teaching or demonstrating or sharing your gifts with the world as a threat. Now, it's very obvious that we do perceive the sharing of our gifts and the teaching of the things that are valuable to us that we want to learn. It's very obvious that we perceive the sharing of our gifts and teaching as a threat. How do we know? How do we know that's obvious? Because we don't do it. We're loaded up with these gifts and these ideas that we love and we want to share, but we don't do it because we're afraid of it. We're afraid of extending our gifts into the world. We're afraid of sharing our gifts. We're afraid of teaching and demonstrating the ideas that we want to learn, the things that we love. We're afraid to do it, you know, and so we're just loaded up with these gifts. And then, you know, like I've often referred to myself as a closet artist, meaning somebody who's very gifted in a lot of ways, but for whatever reason, just afraid to share it. I wrote a book. It took me 5 freaking years to finish it and extend it. Why? Because I was afraid to extend my ideas. I was afraid to teach. I was afraid to extend the ideas that were important to me, that I wanted to learn. I was afraid to share them. I was afraid to teach. Why? Because I'm an unhealed healer. I'm a teacher with an authority problem who was concerned about the judgment or the misperception of other people on my work. So it's obvious that we don't interpret teaching and sharing our gifts like our teacher does. Now, our teacher just said this about the way our teacher just said, look, unless you interpret teaching like I do, you're going to be afraid of teaching. You're going to be afraid to share your gifts with the world. And then our teacher tells us this: I have made every effort to teach you without fear. I have made every effort to teach you entirely without fear. Wow. In other words, our teacher knows how to teach without fear. Okay, we don't. We are still full of fear about extending our ideas and sharing our gifts. We're full of fear. Our teacher has no fear. Our teacher has no fear to share his ideas at all. Our teacher, shared his ideas without fear. Without fear of being misunderstood, without fear of being projected upon, without even being afraid of being killed, murdered. Dang. That's how fearless our teacher, the voice of the course, was in his teaching, his extending of the ideas that he wanted to learn. So that's what our teacher is like. Please follow me. Teachers, follow my example. Teach without fear. Learn how to teach without fear. Learn how to be a fearless teacher. Learn how to not care. Learn how to absolutely, learn how to absolutely, entirely, what was it? Let me see. Absolutely, I gotta find it. Absolutely refuse to honor everybody else's misperceptions of your teaching and your gifts. Absolutely refuse to give other people's misperceptions of your gifts and your teaching any power over whether you are teaching, over whether you are extending your gifts. That's what our teacher is saying. Please follow my example. Stop giving a damn about how other people receive your work, your teaching, your gifts. Refuse to side with their misperceptions of you. Be a fearless teacher. Follow your teacher's example in how to teach without fear, which means to extend your ideas, your gifts, your teachings to the world without fear. Wow, how very powerful. I did not realize I was going to be doing so much self-disclosure tonight. But it's definitely one of my one of the themes of my story here, being the closet artist, the closet teacher. This totally speaks to that that mistake that I have been making as a teacher, as a facilitator, and as an artist. So wonderful, beautiful. Bridget says that happened to me and it scared me. Indeed, yes, yes. It scared me too. Rich says, and everybody loves the book. Thank you, Rich. Yes, it scared me too. It took me 5 years to extend that teaching, that gift. And then once I did, I just promptly tried to forget that ever happened. So thank you, Rich, for reminding me that everybody loved the book. And Rich says, being real and authentic is so amazing. Indeed. Indeed. Exactly. Exactly. And being authentic comes from not being afraid of other people's misperceptions of your teaching, of your gifts. Okay? When you don't care how people misperceive, and you're not giving their misperceptions of your teaching or your gifts any power over you, but then you can tell the truth about yourself all day long. You can be authentic because you're not concerned about how they may misperceive you or reject you or misperceive you or whatever. You know, when I know and I remember that I am sharing my gifts, I am sharing my ideas, I am teaching because that's how I'm going to learn, then it's not going to matter to me how many people are in my class, whether they fall asleep in my class, whether they return to my class, whether they like my class, whether they donate and support my ministry. I won't care. And guess what is probably going to happen when I really do stop caring and giving other people's misperceptions any power over my teaching or my gifts? Guess what's probably going to happen? Be like worldwide. So thank you for helping me to learn this right now. As you can see, I am learning as I am teaching this. So thank you for saying that, Rich. And Stephen says, where can we find your book? Thank you. On Amazon.com. Just put my name in and you'll find my book. Thank you, Stephen. And Tricia says, I loved it. I'm blown away. I need to rewatch this over and over. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, me too. Me too, Tricia. Okay. Then it says, now we're on paragraph 7. It says, it is hardly necessary to say that teaching is a process whose purpose is to produce learning. Right. What is the goal of teaching? To produce learning. Duh. The ultimate purpose of all learning is to abolish fear. Okay, thank you, teacher. So what's all the teaching and learning really about? What's all the teaching and learning really, really, really at core for? It's to abolish fear, right? So the whole goal of teaching and learning is to abolish fear. So that means that I can't be afraid to teach, right? The whole goal of teaching and learning is to abolish fear, but yet I'm afraid to teach, right? I'm afraid of other people's misperceptions. I'm afraid of other people's rejection. I'm afraid of other people's projection. But that's ridiculous because the whole purpose of teaching and learning is to abolish fear, not to increase fear through teaching, right? That's what we've been doing too much of, is using teaching to increase our fear. Like, oh crap, I'm needing or wanting to teach and to share my gifts, but I'm terrified to do that. But the whole purpose of extending your gifts and your teaching is to abolish fear. And so I can see how and why learning how to extend my gifts and my teaching without fear, I can see how it really would completely undo fear. Because if I can extend my gifts and my teaching without fear of how other people are going to reject it or misperceive it or project on me or judge me, I could see that. What would there be left to be afraid of, right? If I put it all out there and just put it all out there, then what is there left to be afraid of, right? If I've taken that ultimate risk to put it all out there, this is what I want to believe, this is what I want to learn, here it is, then what's there to fear? Now you've abolished your fear. Sarka says, I always thought I need one more year of learning, one more book, one more course before I will be qualified for teaching others. Thank you for saying this, Sarka. I never felt like I was ready. And it's a complete opposite. Teach so you can learn. That's exactly right. Thank you for saying that, Sarka. And Stephen says, my book will be here on Friday. You're fast, Stephen. Awesome. Yes, and soon I hear from Winston that it's going to be available digital download. Thank you, Winston. So yes, Sarka, what we learned was that you got to wait till you have no doubt. You got to wait until you've mastered something, meaning have no doubt, to share it, to teach it. And that's total ego lie. The only way to truly learn something. So in other words, it's not about, teaching is not waiting for mastery. That's not what, that is a teacher who has an authority problem. I am teaching because I have mastered. I'm going to give to you something that I have that you don't. That's a teacher with an authority problem, and that is someone who's afraid to teach. A teacher with an authority problem, that is a unhealed healer, and that is someone who is a teacher who's really a pupil who's afraid to learn, who's afraid to teach. Yes. And then Irene says, funny, my fear of teaching runs parallel to other roles I have in my life, work or wife. Very good, Irene. It goes on to talk about that here too. Yes, teaching is something that, teaching is what you do to experience mastery, not something that you do after you have mastered, okay? Because remember, don't forget this, teaching is learning. And so the Course in Miracles is a means by which you ask yourself, the Course in Miracles is a curriculum by which you choose what you want to teach by what you want to learn. So Course in Miracles is always asking you this question. What do you want to learn? Do you want to learn how to be free? Do you want to learn how to really be happy? Do you want to learn how to have lasting happiness? Do you want to learn how to experience lasting love? Do you want to experience lasting joy and abundance? Is that what you would like to experience? Is that what you'd like to learn? Yeah? Okay, great. Then go and teach it. That's what A Course in Miracles is about. And so that's why I teach A Course in Miracles, because I want to learn forgiveness. I want to learn how to be happy, lasting happiness, not short-term happiness, not only weekend happiness, but lasting happiness that is not affected by every twist and turn on the road, that's not affected by every situation, every relationship, everything that creeps and crawls and even lives at all. I want to have a happiness and a fulfillment that is constant, that is invulnerable to all the seeming changes that seem to be part of the Earth School. And so that's what I got to teach. So ask yourself, what do I want to learn this lifetime? What do I want to learn? Which is the same as saying, what do I want to experience in this life? Ask yourself that question, because there's your answer to what you need to be demonstrating. That's what you need to be sharing. That's what you need to be teaching. That's the gifts that you were born to give. Beautiful. Irene says, I want to learn forgiveness, lasting happiness, a fulfillment that is invulnerable. Yes, Irene. Beautiful. And so now it says this. It says, right, the ultimate purpose of all learning is to abolish fear. That's what it's all about. Abolishing fear. And in this case, fear to teach, fear to demonstrate, fear to share the ideas that you want to learn. Fear of putting it out there so that you can truly have it. So it says this, this is necessary, this abolishing of fear is necessary so that knowledge can happen. So the whole goal of teaching and learning is to abolish fear. Why is that? Because only when fear is gone can knowledge dawn. Only when fear is gone can knowledge, which means certainty, dawn. So that's why we want to allow for the abolishment of fear, which teaching accomplishes. Isn't that beautiful? The goal of teaching ultimately is the abolishment of fear. That's what's on the other side of taking the risk to share. That's what's on the other side of learning how to absolutely refuse to be concerned about the misperceptions of other people about what you share and what you teach and how you teach. What's on the other side of that lesson is no more fear. And when there's no more fear pounding on your heart, when there's no more fear clouding your mind, then knowledge dawns. Now, what is knowledge? Knowledge is absolute certainty of the truth about you, and absolute certainty about the truth of everything. That is what knowledge is, and that it comes after fear goes. And so that's why we want to teach. That's why we want to learn how to teach without fear. I want to learn how to extend my gifts. I want to learn how to teach the ideas that I want to learn so that I can have my fear abolished, so that certainty about my value and my worth and my immortality can dawn upon my mind. Beautiful. Now, then it says this. It says the role of teacher is not the role of God. Don't forget that. Why? Because the confusion of thinking that the role of teacher is the role of God. I'm the teacher, so I'm God. Oh, they're the teacher, they're God. How often have we seen that confusion and made that confusion where we saw a teacher and then thought they were God? Maybe we didn't say they were God, but we sure treated them like God, to the point when they exhibited their ego, we were like, oh my God, they're a teacher, and look, they just did something stupid. We have definitely confused teacher with God in others and in ourselves, thinking, oh, I'm the teacher, I'm God, or seeing our teachers and thinking that confusing them with God, and then when they reveal their ego, then we crucify them. That's us making that confusion between the teacher and God. The role of teacher is not the role of God. Okay. The confusion is all too frequently made by parents, teachers, therapists, and don't forget the clergy. Indeed. Certainly the clergy, definitely parents. You can totally see that confusion in parents, clergy, teachers, and therapists. You know, especially, I mean, totally obvious with clergy. Here's the clergy, and they are the teacher, and we confuse the clergy with God. Yes. We confuse the clergy with God, and the clergy confuses themselves with God. That is a confusion of the role of teacher and the role of God. And Lord knows we've done that way too much, because it's a real misunderstanding of both God and God's miracles. Right. Total confusion. Now, any teacher who believes that teaching or demonstrating or extending their gifts is fearful, that teacher cannot learn, because that teacher is paralyzed. Wow. Dang. Have you ever felt paralyzed when it came to teaching, when it came to extending your gifts to the world? Have you ever felt paralyzed? I have. I deal with a little bit of that before every single time that I teach. A little bit of fear, like, fear of teaching. It's a experience of feeling paralyzed by your fear of teaching, by your fear of extending your gifts to the world. You experience that process because you're afraid of teaching. And again, why are we afraid of teaching? Because we are afraid. We are giving power to other people's misperceptions of us. We're afraid of how other people might reject us or misperceive us. That's why we have that fear of teaching. And so that paralyzes us when it comes to extending our gifts and our teaching to the world. And it says, so that, and if you're not extending your teaching to others, then guess what? You're also not learning. Don't forget that. Yikes. And when you're afraid of learning, you can't really teach. Now, how are we doing on time? Okay, great. So, thank you guys for sharing. Stephen says, the ultimate purpose of all learning is to abolish perception. Love it. Bridget Bond goes, never. Exactly. Never have I felt paralyzed when it came to time to teach or to extend my gifts to the world. Never. Yeah, I'm always just totally cool and calm and collected, never a worry. They say that the number one fear in humans is public speaking. In other words, it's a great example of how we're afraid. It's a great example of being paralyzed, feeling paralyzed when it comes to extending our gifts and teaching. Now, I just want to go back to an important part before we go on, and that is that where it said that one of the ways that we manifest our fear of teaching is that we're confusing our role with God. So it goes something like this. Let's just say, for instance, I'm a teacher of A Course in Miracles. Let's just say that what would make me be afraid to teach, whatever it is, what would make me afraid to extend is that I am confusing the role of teacher with the role of God. And so I'm telling myself, well, since I'm not perfect, then I shouldn't be teaching. I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't be extending. Well, you would only make that confusion if you thought that you were supposed to be perfect, or you're supposed to be God. You're supposed to have all the answers. Now, if I know that I'm not God, I don't have all the answers, and I'm only teaching to learn, how afraid am I going to be? I don't need. My fear gets abolished when I stop confusing my role and God. And when I remember, no, I'm really just the learner who's got to share this in order to learn it. Well, now it's okay. I can be imperfect. I can be somebody who's still learning, who still has an ego, who still does stupid crap, who still has, who still makes mistakes. If I don't have to be perfect, I don't have to be God, then it's okay. Then I can share, I can demonstrate and teach and still have a crazy ego like everybody else. So it's important to stop confusing the role of teacher with the role of God. It's important to stop confusing those so that you can drop your fear of teaching, of demonstrating, of sharing your gifts with the world. So, yes, right. Oh, Bridget says, yes, never thinking man is God. Exactly. All right. So we're going to go on just a little bit more, and then we'll do our integration meditation. So now we're doing paragraph 8. So we'll finish up with paragraph 8. You would be right to maintain that this course is a prerequisite for any rightful course that you may teach. So anything you want to teach, whatever it is, this course is the perfect prerequisite for anything you want to teach. Okay? The Course in Miracles is a perfect requisite, perfect thing to learn, to teach anything, whether it's love, whether it's healing, whether it's abundance, whether it's forgiveness, whether it's Course in Miracles, whatever. It says, however, you would really be saying much more than that. In other words, the purpose of this course is to prepare you for knowledge. So is the only real purpose of any legitimate course. All that is required of you as a teacher is to follow me. Okay. So, what is the only thing that's required of us to be a teacher? Notice it's saying for you to fulfill your function of sharing your gifts with the world, teaching whatever it is that you want to learn, the only prerequisite is that of your willingness to follow your teacher. It's a willingness to follow. So stop waiting to teach. Stop waiting to give your gifts till you are perfect, till you have mastery, till you feel like you're God. Don't wait for that. The only requirement for being a teacher is to be a good follower of your higher mind, your teacher, someone who knows more than you, about the truth, and about the path, and also about the whole plan for the healing of man. The only thing that is required of you to be a teacher, to teach, is to be a good follower of the one who really is the ultimate teacher. And that is Spirit, that is Holy Spirit, that is not you, okay? So I want to be a good teacher, which means I really want to be a good follower. The better follower I am of the real teacher, the higher teacher, your internal teacher, that divine spark within you, that voice for God within you, is to be a good follower of the voice for love within you. That is the only requirement to be a good teacher. So I don't really have to be perfect. I don't have to know what I'm doing. I don't have to be free of fear completely. I just have to be willing to follow my teacher. My teacher. Not me, but my teacher. So good. So, it's like, well, I don't know what to say or do, but that's okay. I don't know what I'm doing. Still learning this. I don't really know how to do it perfectly. I've got fear about extending. I've got fear about teaching. I don't know what to say or do, but that doesn't matter, because the one who sent me, my teacher, will direct me very specifically and will tell me where to go, what to do, what to say, and to whom. So it doesn't matter that you don't know what to do. It doesn't matter that you don't know what to say. So stop waiting till you know what to do, and stop waiting till you know what to say, to extend, to teach, to demonstrate. Stop waiting. Instead of waiting and withholding your gifts to the world, thinking you need to be perfect and have mastered it before you teach it and share it, do this. Go, teacher, you are the teacher here. I am the learner. I ask you to decide what I say, what I do, and to whom. You decide, you lead me, you guide me. And so, the teacher's prayer, the ultimate teacher's prayer that will enable you to reduce your fear of teaching so that you can learn, so that you can evolve and grow, is this: I am only here to be truly helpful. When you are in a situation where you're being called upon to teach or to demonstrate or to share your gifts, that you say this: I am only here to be truly helpful. I don't have to worry about what to say or do. I don't have to worry about what to say or do, because the love that sent me, my teacher who sent me here, will direct me. I will be content in this teaching situation. I will be content to be wherever my teacher wishes I be, knowing my teacher goes there with me. I will be healed. I will learn as I let my teacher teach me how to heal. That is the teacher's prayer. It is also the happy learner's prayer. This is the prayer that we pray to reduce our fear of teaching so that we can extend our ideas and our gifts to the world so that we can teach to others what it is that we need to learn so that we can learn it. And what's the ultimate goal of teaching and learning? Be free of fear. Why is the goal to be free of fear? So that the knowledge of who and what we are can dawn upon our mind with certainty. And Rich says, Anna, you are an oracle. That is your function, teacher. We love the way you teach, or we would not be here. Thank you. You are truly helpful. Thank you, Rich. I really appreciate that very much. And I appreciate you guys. If you weren't here as a place that I could extend my what I want to learn to, then I wouldn't learn. So truly, teacher and learner are the same. They are the same. So thank you for being such beautiful teachers for me as well. Such beautiful equal teachers as well. I appreciate you all so much. So now we're going to do announcements, and then we're going to do the integration meditation. So announcements are this. I do live streams twice a week, every Monday and Wednesday from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. And I right now I'm doing that on Facebook, but soon I'm going to go to YouTube. I just today, hallelujah, figured out at long last how to get my Facebook classes to YouTube. So, and I just posted last Monday's class on YouTube tonight. So you can go to YouTube also and find my classes. It's easier to find my classes on YouTube because they're all just right there. Whereas if to find my classes on Facebook, you gotta go to my Facebook page and scroll down. They're all there. But on my YouTube page, I've got Course in Miracles readings where I'm just reading the course to music. I've got meditations. I've got classes from many years, going back many years. So go check out my YouTube page. And my last name is spelled Kujawa. Also, if you would like to learn about my holistic counseling practice, Miracle Psychotherapeutics, or if you would like to make a financial expression of appreciation to my Miracles Ministry, then you can go to my website, annakujawa.com, and go to the services we offer page. There's PayPal buttons there. And on the last page of my website is my phone number, and then you can text me a message from there, or a private message from me here on Facebook. So, and you are at ACIM conference next week? Nope. But thanks for asking. And Tricia says, oh, right on, more classes and more meditation. Yes. It used to be that I would upload my course and my class meditations separately to YouTube. So there is years worth of the class meditations that I always do at the end of class. There's years worth of those on YouTube. So if you like the closing integration meditations that I do, there's a bunch of them. And you can make a playlist of them so that literally you can just go as long as you want with those integration meditations if you want. So that's available on YouTube. So those are my announcements. And so now we are going to do the integration meditation. And all we're going to do here is we're going to listen to some music, and we're going to use these ideas. We're going to use our creative imagination and our creative visualization to use these ideas. So what I want you to do is I want you to close your eyes and take a breath and just feel how these ideas feel in your mind, in your heart, in your body. I want you to just rest in the truth. The truth rests us. It's restful. And when your mind is at rest, when your mind is resting, when your mind is at rest, resting in the truth, then it heals your body as well. A resting body is a healed and healthy body. Stress is the number one killer of the body. And so resting the mind, which rests the body, heals the body. And the thing that ultimately rests your mind is the truth about you, the truth about reality. So let us rest our minds in the loving, brilliant, beautiful, powerful, ecstatic, immortal truth about ourselves that we find in A Course in Miracles. And take a breath. So, now to practice what we heard in this class, let us start by asking this of ourselves. What is it that I want to learn? What is it that I want to experience this lifetime? While I'm here in this body, in Earth School, what do I want to experience? What do I want to learn? And go ahead and ask yourself that question and think about that for a moment. Let your spirit, let your soul answer that question. And take a breath. Beautiful. Now, what I want you to say to yourself now is, well, this is what I must teach. This is what I must demonstrate for others. Teaching is done in many ways because teaching is simply demonstrating. Tell yourself again, this is what I must be teaching. This is what I want now to be teaching the world. And take a breath. And now tell yourself, my function is to teach and to demonstrate that which I want to learn, that which I want to experience in life while I'm here. This is my function, my teaching and learning function. Breathing, noticing how it feels to be becoming aware of your teaching, learning function here in Earth School. Beautiful. Now, what I want you to do is I now want you to ask your teacher, your higher mind teacher, your internal teacher, the divine spark teacher in you, the voice for God teacher in you. I want you to say this to your teacher. Teacher, I want to accept my teaching role now, that I might finally learn and experience what I want to learn and experience in this Earth School. I ask you to give me the perfect form in which to teach what I want to learn. You put together the form of how I teach. You decide the form of how I teach what it is I want to learn. I want to teach what I want to learn. please give me your form, the form that you know would be the best form, the best way in time and space to teach what I want to learn. Then I want you to tell your teacher in confidence, I know that you have made for me the perfect form in which to teach what I want to learn. And I thank you for that, and I ask you for that, and that's what I'm asking for, and that's what I want, and that's what I'm asking for, teacher. And teacher, I want to follow you, which means I want to learn how to teach without fear. I want to learn how to extend my gifts and teach my truth fearlessly like you did. Thanks for showing me how to do it. Thanks for showing me how to teach fearlessly. Thanks for showing me how not to give a damn what other people's misperceptions are of me. Thanks for showing me how to do it. I want to teach like you, fearlessly, unconcerned about other people's misperceptions of me. I want to give my gifts to the world fearlessly just like you did. Thanks for showing me how to do it. And take a breath and feel. And tell yourself, I want to fulfill my teaching function here and be free. Be free from fear, which is self-doubt. That's what I want. And so that's what I got to teach. And take a breath. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for watching. And go ahead and share this on your timeline if you would like, for others on planet Earth. If you think that there's some other folks on planet Earth who could benefit from hearing that which will help them to leave the desert of purposelessness and enter the garden of purpose, share it on your timeline. And I thank you for sharing it. And the world that needs to hear this so desperately thanks you for sharing this on your timeline as well. I appreciate you so much. And I'm grateful to you. And thank you for watching. And I will see you next time I see you.